Hey everybody, how you doing? It's your boy Shaheener coming at you with the second episode of the Season 2 Pokemon Babblers podcast. I'm of course joined by my co-host Bono, second camera over there.
Over here, yeah, over here. We're not together anymore.
Not together anymore, you're so far away.
We're separated.
Separated by two beautiful men. And so, actually, speaking of two beautiful men, this is the first time that we've had more than one guest on the podcast. And so, in the first camera, all the way over there to the, you'll be seeing it on the left. Bono, other way. Yeah, so we got our buddy Cadisis, aka Dark Carl, aka my name is Jeff, on the stream. How you doing, boy?
How's it going, guys?
Hey. So Jeff's been a long time friend, also a fan of the channel. He joined us on the last microvlog that we did, and also right to the left of me over here, we got our good friend and frequent collaborator, artist, multimedia extraordinaire, Joel Yoli. How you doing, Joel?
Good, I'm good. How's everybody?
Resident Ant Killer.
Anyway, so we are going to be talking about two different games today. We're going to be talking about Pokemon Snap for the Nintendo 64 and its sequel that was released pretty much like 21 years later, new Pokemon Snap on the Nintendo Switch. Actually, you know what? Before we get into the game, since, Jeff, we haven't had you on the podcast before, let's have you go through your history with the Pokemon franchise. Like, where'd you first start playing Pokemon? Where did you start playing Pokemon Snap? Like, what's your history with all of it?
So my first history of this is me and my brother each got a copy of Red and Blue. I was Red and he played Blue. Yep, there we go. On the old gray Game Boy. Mm-hmm. And I played that for summers and summers. I just remember sitting there playing. We'd be on road trips. I'm trying to find the light to play Pokemon on. Yeah. And then finally Game Boy Color coming around and then like getting the link cable and everything. It just really took it all to the next level for me. And then I just remember like trading Pokemon cards on the playground with other kids, being like, hey, I'll give you a Butterfree for, your Charmeleon or whatever. And just like swapping, trying to get better cards. And so, yeah, it just started early, I guess, Gen 1. So
an OG. Have you played any other games since then?
I have. I even went back and played like Emerald and everything on emulators. I've owned a few of the game, like main series games through the years, like Let's Go. And
did you play Scarlet and Violet at all? Or did you just see our Babblers and just be like, oh, that game's a dumpster fire, I'm not going to bother?
Yeah, I was kind of waiting to see if things would simmer down a little on that one, but...
Nope. I honestly suspect it's going to get worse when the DLC drops. Like, right. I think the performance is going to... Like, it's already bad, and it's just going to get worse.
My last main title was like X and Y, probably. That I really like spent a lot of time playing, and it had the game.
For sure.
Tune into our 2027 episode for the X and Y remakes.
Yeah. They'll probably still be releasing on the Switch. Switch 2 probably won't even be out by then. Actually, so Joel just recently was streaming the original Pokemon Snap. And so revisiting the game, how do you feel about it, playing it all these years later?
It was more of like a nostalgia trip than anything. I played it, I think, maybe a couple of years ago just to, get back into it a little bit before the new one came out. It holds up pretty well, like in terms of, I guess the experience of like taking photos. Like it's a very unique game, right? Mm-hmm. So it was cool to revisit. And even just playing it last night, I'm like, oh yeah, then you do this and this, and like all that stuff was like burned into my brain. Mm-hmm. So I love revisiting old games like that. I guess we'll talk about the new one in a little bit, but it doesn't really compare. It's very night and day for me.
Yeah,
I feel like it would just based on playtime. Like the original Pokemon Snap, like as a child, yeah, you're like trying to figure it out, but like way down the line, you're just like this game takes like maybe 2-3 hours tops to complete.
Yeah, we beat it last night. Like in about 2 hours. Yeah. Oh, I was just gonna say I got the old cartridge. It's a very old cartridge, so it's been a while. So it's kind of shrunk a little bit, but
what the?
See that there?
Dang! Why'd you put your game in the dryer?
I left it in my pocket, and I don't know. It hasn't grown any since. That's a
Sounds like
stupid joke. It's
Pokemon.
just a little keychain.
I love that though. Man, where'd you get that
Uh,
from? Did you get it like from Etsy or?
It's there was some booth we just had like a comic expo in Calgary, and I bought like 6 of these. I wish I had them near me because I gave them out to some friends. But there's like 007, there's like a Donkey Kong Country one, and
That's cool.
yeah, they're all very man-child heavy kind of stuff. So
I would gladly
Nice.
wear the Donkey Kong one on a necklace. Just like
Totally,
instead of like
yeah.
a chain like diamonds or whatever, I just Donkey Kong 64.
yeah,
Like that's really the
totally.
way to go. I actually also revisited Pokemon Snap before New Snap came out, and I didn't realize and how quickly I could go through the game. Not only like beating the game, but 100%ing it. Because I think it took me around the same time as you, Joel. Was like an hour and a half or so to 100%. Like catch or take pictures of all the Pokemon, do the Mew stage, and all that stuff. And it's still like it still holds up pretty well. At least it is very fun. But once you play New Snap, as we'll be talking about later on. Yeah, like you said, it's night and day. Like I think I'm just regurgitating what you just said, but it's like a completely different experience. It feels like, or at least
Yeah.
just a smoother experience, really. Getting back to like the just some factoids and just the thing about Snap. So released on the Nintendo 64, and originally it came out in March 21st of 1999. In Japan, North America, it came out July 26th, 99. Europe came out in September 15th, 99. I didn't see anything about the Australia release date, so sorry, Australia. It was then re-released on the Wii Virtual Console in late 2007, and then on the Wii U Virtual Console in late 2016, early 2017. And then it was released for the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack in 2022. Game was developed by HAL Laboratory. They are the ones that developed the Kirby franchise. They also developed Earthbound and the first 2 Smash Brothers games. So that's definitely a company that's spearheaded essentially by Masahiro Sakurai.
I saw that point and I was thinking to myself, because obviously we'll get to it later, like you say, but there's a disparity between when this game came out, like in 1999, and then the new Snap, which came out in 2021. And as you said, it's developed by HAL Laboratory. I just wonder, like, if like Kirby and Smash, like, would it was obviously good from the start, but it like just took off on its own, like mid 2000s kind of thing. I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that like we never saw like a Snap 2 or anything in between that time span between 1999 and 2021.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. I feel like every generation that we had, people always clamored for a new Snap. It's like, oh, this system has cameras on it. Like you could easily do Pokemon Snap like on the 3DS or like on the Wii U. I feel like that you heard that conversation almost every single time. And then the one system that doesn't have cameras on it, they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna do Pokemon Snap. And I was definitely in that boat of like, I would love to see a new Pokemon Snap, something that works with like, especially if it was on the 3DS with the augmented reality, kind of like how they did the Dream Radar or how they did the like the 3D cards. Basically just augmented reality worked pretty decently on the 3DS, at least in my experience. So Snap I feel like would have made sense.
Even when Pokemon Go came out in, I guess that was 2016, I think a lot of people were talking about like, oh, this would be like a perfect environment for a new Pokemon Snap game, like just like basically Pokemon Go, except you're taking photos.
Yeah,
I think that was kind of a missed
incorporated,
opportunity.
They could have incorporated some of the things from like the Pokewalker, like you choose a specific route to go on, and those Pokemon will show up as you're walking around, and those when you can take pictures.
You know what that reminds me
that'd
of?
be cool.
There was an eShop game that came out on the 3DS. It was based off of the Chibi Robo franchise called Chibi Robo Photo Finder. And it was, in a way, kind of like, well, it used augmented reality for the most part. And it would just have you go, like, on random places, like, usually, like, in your house or just in, I don't know, just in general, and find, like, it'd give you, like, a silhouette of, oh, take a picture of something that fits this shape. And it'd be, like, a roll of toilet papers. Like, go take a picture over here, and then Chibi Road would, like, interact with it. And then you could play, like, a game or something from there. I thought that was kind of cool, and I feel like that maybe Pokemon Snap probably could have done something along those lines. I don't know.
What
But
you're
also,
describing...
we lost Jeff.
To chime in because he's all like, yeah, like take a picture of a toilet paper roll or take a picture of this. I was like, Alex, that sounds like spyware. Are you sure you didn't download spyware? And they were like, take a picture of your mom's credit card.
Yeah, take a picture of your
front and back.
Yeah, take a picture of your birth certificate.
Yeah,
take a picture of your death certificate. Like, wait, I don't have a death certificate.
That's when the sniper gets you.
Exactly. It's the last picture that's ever taken in your 3DS.
Well, in hindsight, it did take forever to get like obviously the new Pokemon Snap, but from just seeing it, like it's so great. But like part of me wonders like what would a Johto based Pokemon Snap look like? What would a Hoenn Snap look like on the GameCube and Diamond and Pearl on the Wii U?
But I am happy that we got it so much later too. That way it encompassed a bunch of generations in it too. Where it wasn't just like, oh yeah, it's going to be Gold and Silver with Kanto, because I feel like that there wasn't much time to allow more Pokemon to be in there, especially since there's so many like favorites now. Like there's a lot of favorites that have been here with the 1,000 or so Pokemon that we have. That it's great that we got to Galar to have all these Pokemon interacting with each other too. Like I love seeing like interactions of like Lycanroc and Kangaskhan on one of the stages, but I feel like that we're kind of getting a little bit far ahead of like New Snap, so let me try and reel it back, I guess. The general gameplay about Snap is that it's basically a first-person Unreal shooter style game, but it's focused on photography, taking pictures of Pokemon and other sites within the game. And originally, this was not going to be a Pokemon game. That it was just going to be a regular photography game. They didn't really have any kind of like an angle on it. It was just going to be a photography game. Then once the Pokemon situation was added in there, then it started to make sense, and they actually had some kind of direction on there. And there were some elements that were taken from this game that were originally in a game they're developing called Jack and Beans, which was supposed to be based off of Jack and the Beanstalk, and it was going to be released on the 64 disc drive, which never came to America. And they actually took elements of that as well. They were going to import it over to Earthbound 64, which also never came out. I think it ended up being Mother 3 on the GBA in Japan. But also in the intro screen for Pokemon Snap, so they'll show like HAL Laboratories and like Nintendo, but they actually show Jack and Beans on there, which is kind of like a salute to the game that they just kind of pillaged from in a way.
I say it sounds like typical HAL Laboratory, because it wasn't the original Smash. Like, didn't Sakurai just do it with 4 like random characters with different colors, and then they put the Nintendo characters on it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like their trademark. Like, hey, we were doing something else, but let's just slap Nintendo products on it and make a good game.
I wonder who is like spearheading that of like, hey, we're gonna put like other Nintendo IPs on here, like the Mario characters or the Pokemon characters. With that, do you think that could have possibly gone back to Iwata, like at least for Pokemon Snap?
It's like passing knowledge that I watched like a video on one time, but yeah, I don't know. It could have just been one idea guy that's like, hey, that looks cool. We should put our brand on it.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it Miyamoto who put it on there?
Might have been.
I think Miyamoto gave Smash his blessing for at least having the other like characters in there.
Like having Mario and Link on there.
I think if I remember correctly, because Sakurai's been doing videos on YouTube and he talked about the development of the original Smash. I think he added it in there and then pitched it to Nintendo, and I believe Miyamoto was there and he was like, "Oh, this is cool, let's do it." I think it was something along that. I mean, I could be totally wrong.
It's like the opposite of the Kingdom Hearts story, where the guy sandbags a Disney exec in the elevator.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let's get something going here.
Like, guys, hear me out. Do you know Disney, right? Mickey Mouse, Lilo and Stitch. But what if we did that with Final Fantasy?
Collab.
Like, that's still to me is one of the most like just out of nowhere collabs ever. Speaking of that,
the fact that it happened in an elevator is even worse, because it's like, what was the guy gonna do? Like, no, and then they just sit in the elevator for like 3 minutes.
I mean, that's always a big thing too. Is like elevator pitches of just. Like, if you have an idea, if you could explain it in the short amount of time as you can on an elevator ride, then you have, like, a decent idea or something worth, like, showing to people.
Part of me wonders if that Disney exec was like, yeah, sure, whatever. Loser gets out of the elevator, then, like, 6 months later, they have, like, a fully developed product, and he's like, oh, well, I guess we have to go with it.
It's already been worked on, and he just, like, the person kind of just knew. But what do you guys think are some of the most such like out of nowhere collaborations on like IPs?
Marvel versus Capcom.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And any fighting game, I find like I guess Smash is a good one. There's a lot of like weird crossing over of IPs.
Yeah, especially like Kingdom Hearts, like Sora in Smash was such a like out of nowhere thing. That, or even like the Minecraft Steve. Going back to Pokemon Snap, because we're babblers. We're gonna babble and ramble about whatever, I guess. Professor Oak basically asks the main character Todd Snap. This is the plot, by the way. Yeah, Todd Snap. I can't believe that they would name that, but whatever.
I
This
mean,
is
doesn't he
franchise
have
for
like
children.
a character in the show? I feel like at one
He
point in time there was like,
does.
yeah, there's like a character for him, but
Yeah.
it's either he didn't
Right,
speak
yeah.
or it was just a still.
Yeah, I remember they had some kind of angle with him, but also, do you feel like that, like the Todd Snap character was also integrated with Tracy's character in the show?
Yeah, a little bit, right? I remember Tracy kind of vaguely, but he's sort of similar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with his Peekaboo and his Scyther.
Todd Snap is like some corporate buzz guys like Todd Snap. That's
Yeah.
what we're going with.
Exactly.
They should have named him a first name Cam and last name Ura.
Yeah.
Cam
That would have been
Ura.
a little bit better.
Or Ko Diak.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Photograph.
Yeah.
Look at this fool.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Definitely.
that's the collab we need. Pokemon Snap with Chad Krager from Nickelback.
Oh yeah.
So, he's just like the professor. He's just like, look at this photograph.
I do think it's
Look
kinda,
at this
like, odd.
Pokemon.
Every time I do it makes me laugh. What the
We
hell
never
is
get
some
like
stunt this head?
like a cameraman. Well, we do get like a cameraman, like an actual cameraman with,
Yeah.
but we don't get like a photographer like trainer class.
Yeah,
I
that
feel
would.
like that would have been an easy like softball.
Yeah, they could have just like had like a Todd Snap looking character as like the trainer class. Also,
We do
Yeah.
have like artists in Gen 6, the camera guy from Gen 3, and then I think even like the tourists have like a camera, but like it seems kind of weird that there's not like a photographer trainer class when there's like plenty of other ones.
I was just thinking about it right now. So when you finish up a level and you're about to enter the portal to go back to Professor Oak's lab, and there's that kind of wide shot of your character, who's filming that? Like what camera? Like who's operating that camera? Is there somebody just just
It's I can't believe you
I
don't
think
know
it's-
the answer to
I
this
think it's
question.
Lakitu.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Lakitu.
I was
idiot.
thinking that. I'm sorry, all right? I just needed to make sure. I just needed
He's
to
right
make
behind you, floating a
He's
little camera
always-
on a stick.
Always been there. Always will be.
Also,
Laka-
the fact that that wasn't in the Mario movie is a travesty. Like
What,
if like
Lakitu?
at the end of the movie, the camera could have just turned around, it would have been Lakitu. That would have
Yeah.
blew my mind.
Yeah, I mean, we already got bombarded with so much information in that movie that, I mean, having that would have probably just made my brain leak out. Todd Snap is taking photos of wild Pokemon on Pokemon Island. Also, again, incredibly phoned in. Just basically in their natural habitat. This was the first game with full 3D rendered Pokemon, but also there weren't even all the Pokemon in this game. I believe that there's only about 63 Pokemon in Snap. Yeah.
Yeah, 63.
Yeah, so they probably had these ones done first, maybe because they also had the original Pokemon Stadium in Japan first before our Stadium one, and there was 40 or so odd Pokemon in that game. Maybe they might have rehashed those into Snap, and then they took those into Stadium that we got. I don't know. It seems like
No, it's definitely odd with Pokemon choices because it's like they cut the evolution lines of some Pokemon. Like there's Vileplume, but there's no Oddish or Gloom.
Mhm.
There's Poliwag, but there's no Poliwhirl, Poliwrath.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, was Gloom not in Snap? I know Vileplume was
No.
for sure.
Yeah, just
Wow,
Vileplume.
Wilson.
Weird.
Caterpie
Yeah,
and Weedle are out.
Yeah.
The starters show up, but only Charmander has all of his stages in there.
Yeah.
But no Ivysaur, no Venusaur, no Blastoise.
No Wartortle.
Dang.
Nothing.
That sucks.
So yeah, the Charizard fan club started way back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they
It
knew.
is very, very clearly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still remember going to a local comic book store that sold Pokemon cards. It was very early in the Pokemon TCG, and the Charizard card was already going for so much money at that point. It was going for $500 for the Charizard, or original Charizard from the base set. I don't remember if it was first edition or not, but I remember telling my dad, I was like, "Why is that card selling for $500?" And then you look decades later and how much it's going for now. It's that was a steal, but it was also such a new fad at the time that nobody would have thought that it would have
I
been
think I
relevant.
watched a video literally today going over Pokeradar on Diamond and Pearl because that's what I've been doing in my spare time.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy in the video has all of his games laid out, and on the Pearl it says $29.99, and I was like, oh my god! I think at GameStop it's $85.
Jeez,
What a time to be alive!
Back in my mall rat days, remember there was to get from one part of the mall to the other, you had to walk through Sears. Nobody would actually shop in Sears. You just walk through it. Probably a reason why they shut down. I remember the one time I bought anything from them, they had Pokemon diamond for $20. I got it, and then for some stupid reason later on, I traded into GameStop. I really wish I didn't. I hate myself for trading in so many games, but I mean, you didn't think about it in hindsight. It just bums me out now thinking about it. Anyway,
Well, you don't really catch on. Like I have card games that I've bought and that I thought were going to catch on, and then they're like not worth anything now.
Yeah.
So it's 3D rendered. This is also like the first time you really see them just like in a natural environment. You don't really see just Pokemon walking around in the game.
Yeah.
Coming up to this.
Yeah, and not even like established environments too, like completely made up shit.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You think they would try to do like a Saffron City level or something like that, but no, it's like all, I don't know. I kind of like that about it. It's
Just
completely original.
like natural environments. Yeah, exactly. Instead of being on like Cinnabar Island or whatever. Although that would be cool if you were to be like on the 0-1 on Cinnabar Island on the side and you encounter a missing no. That would be really cool, but
I
mean,
do, like you guys were talking about earlier, I do like the anime touches on it sometimes, but it's never like the mainstay. Is that this is like really the first time that we actually get to see like Pokemon interacting with each other in a way that's not them battling or them doing contest stuff, or that's following the plot thread of the anime. Oh no, the Heracross is sucking Bulbasaur's bulb. That's like the main plot of the whole episode.
Yeah.
Really, we're just on the cart here. We see like the Meowth chasing down Pidgey nests, the Scyther like cutting down grass,
Magmar
Lapras
burning
just
down a
popping-
Charmander.
Yeah, fight for food and stuff like that. So really, it's just like something that we haven't seen at least until the next Snap.
Right.
Even like with Scarlet and Violet, that's something that's missing from all the games is like seeing how Pokemon interact with each other. Whether that's technical limitations or there's nobody there with imagination anymore, I don't know.
Yeah, because that's always nice to see, like you were saying, of like the Pokemon interacting with each other in like battles or other natural ways. I feel like there is that disconnect of like the lack of humanity in those kind of games. Like you don't see like characters really interacting with each other unless it's just like they're just basically stuck in one spot. They don't actually like move around. They're like, you'll just see like two characters going like doing the same animation they've been rehashing since like Sun and Moon, where it's that kind of thing. I feel like we've seen that so much since like Gen 7.
I think we've nailed the core gameplay of Pokemon. Now it's time to work on everything else to make that better.
Yeah, make it feel real. Make it feel like that there's some heart in there instead of just like cold and calculated.
I mean, they touched it a little bit with Scarlet and Violet story, but like I feel like we could do a lot more. And obviously we need to work on technical problems.
Yeah.
Please, for the love of God.
Even with Legends, like you don't really see the Pokemon interacting with each other very much.
No.
Yeah, they're just kind of like in their own groups.
I feel like they set the stage for it. Like, the Burbies pop out of the trees. If I want to find Geodude, I gotta go somewhere where it's rocked. Like you said, there's just nothing going on there.
Pokemon Snap has 7 levels that you go through. They're not really like original names. It's basically just there's beach, there's tunnel, volcano, river, cave, valley, and rainbow cloud. And these levels are unlocked by playing through the game. Usually it's either by just like finishing the level. Sometimes you have to find like a secret way to finish the level. I believe on the cave, or no, not cave, on tunnel, you find a way from there to get to the volcano level, I believe via the electrode.
You have to throw a apple at the electrode.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you just got to find ways of going about it. Although the last level, the Rainbow Cloud, that one is unlocked. I forget, do you have to get all the constellations?
All the signs.
All
the signs, yeah.
Yeah, the signs. Because there's only one constellation, but it's all the signs. Yeah, so it's 63 Pokemon that, like I mentioned earlier. There's pretty much all the legendaries minus Mewtwo in here. Well, Mewtwo is shown as a sign, but all the other legendaries, like the birds and Mew, are in there. And so it was cool that they actually allowed Mew to be in the game, and it wasn't something where... I don't know, it was cool that they allowed it in there. I'm guessing by this point, they already had the first movie out. So it would make sense that they'd actually show Mew. Because I think that the first movie was the first time that they showed Mew officially. Like, I think people knew about it by, like, Game Sharks and stuff. But official reveal from Nintendo, I believe that's the first one.
I think it is kind of cool. Like, I don't think... Because it's an older game. Like I said, 99. It's not super old. But you have to think about the limitations of the time. So, like, text and everything else is, like, stretched pretty thin. So I don't think, because I know in like the newer Snap, you get explained like a lot of stuff. Like there's a lot of supplemental dialogue to help you understand what you're doing.
Yeah.
In this one, I think you literally get like the intro cutscene where you like do a bit dodge roll and then like go and like take a bunch of pictures,
Right.
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden Professor Oak's like, "Hey, come to this island with me that has teleport gates and switches and an abandoned power plant that just are here, never explained."
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels a lot more like an arcade game, especially like replaying it last night.
That would be cool as an arcade game. Thinking about it, you know, like those ones of like the Jurassic Park where you're in the like the cart, and you have
Funny
to,
you
and
say
it
that.
kind of has an immersion to it. That would be really cool if they did that with Snap.
That's what you say that, because I distinctly remember the Burger King having Pokemon Snap on the 64, like in the playpen area.
Oh no, I'm saying like a full on like immersive experience, like
No,
where
I
they have
get
like
it, but
but
when
that
I
would be
thought
cool.
about that, I was like, they had it, or at least that was like the idea.
Yeah.
So, what about like the areas that they have? There's only what, 7 of them?
Yeah.
What's your favorite area?
I still have very vivid memories of first playing the first Snap, and just when you first start out in the beach area and you see the Pidgeys flying past you and the Doduos running around. It's like, how do I get a picture of that Doduo in a good shot? And just like that little stretch where it's like right till you get to like the Pikachu, I still remember that so perfectly. But I think my favorite stage, if I were to just like look back on them right now, I would probably say the Valley. I feel like was probably my favorite, just because that one I feel like I went back to constantly to just get all the Pokemon in there. I feel like you had to have your timing perfect on a lot of it to get like Starmie, or getting the Mankey to fall from like the little like area of sand, or the Squirtle, getting the Squirtle on the land from the water. I feel like I had to do a lot of that stuff.
And there's like the Gyarados you have to get to, and that one's pretty tight in terms of timing. Like doing it last night, like, okay, I know I only need like 2 additional species to find. Okay, I gotta do this perfectly to like find them. So that level's it's pretty intense.
Yeah. Would you consider that one your favorite, Joel?
No, I was thinking it over, and I like the cave level a lot. The one where you like drop down and there's like Bulbasaurs, but they're actually Dittos. So like
Yeah.
finding that out as a kid was like mind blowing. You're like, holy shit, it's a Ditto.
Yeah.
And then with the Pikachu being harassed by the Zubat, and then like there's all these little secrets in that one that just kind of stand out. What else? The
Jinx worshipping the
Jigglypuff.
Articuno.
Yeah, and then the Jinx and the Articuno. Like even just going through that the first couple times, you're like, how do I fucking hatch the egg? And then eventually, like just like unlocking those secrets in that level specifically was like really rewarding.
Yeah.
So that one's probably my favorite.
Apparently, you can get the Pikachu to ride the Articuno too, which is like so cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right here on the Cerebi thing.
Yeah,
Huh.
I think I did that before at one point, I believe. But I think that was more in like my playthrough before New Snap came out. As an adult, I was like, oh yeah, you can do this. I just need to have actual timing. Yeah, I definitely.
Which one's your favorite area?
My favorite area is probably also the beach, just because it's just the nostalgia from playing it and like going over to a friend's house and being like, oh, you haven't even played this game, let's just play it again.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
then seeing like Pikachu surfing and stuff, it just is nostalgia mostly.
Mhm.
But I do like the cave level too a lot, because I mean just all the interesting things there. With Articuno is my favorite, so yeah.
Yeah.
So a
Mine
little
was-
bit of both of everyone's.
Mine was the river. I like it a lot because in my head canon, you're not in that stupid like ball thing. You're just like sitting on an inner tube, just like, spinning
Yeah.
around and like taking pictures, and then just lazily going down the river.
And
Yeah.
actually, speaking of the river level, that was the only instance to show Slowpoke evolving in the way that it's supposed to, like in the lore, instead of just like by level or whatever. Is that you get it to dip its tail into the water, it gets bit by a Shelter, and then it evolves into a Slowbro. And I thought that was so cool. Even as a kid, I thought that was cool. I didn't have the same love for Slowpoke as a kid as I do now, which Slowpoke is easily one of the best Pokemon, and I will fight and die on that hill. Yes.
Oh,
See,
there it is.
Joel knows what's going on. See, we're all just
Don't say anything bad about him.
Yeah.
He's listening.
I would never.
I'm still waiting for the Shelter on the back of Slowbro to be its own Pokemon.
Yeah.
This is like it'd be the laziest shoe-in ever, but
Dude,
Hell,
I was
been there.
wanting that for so
I'm for it.
long. I wanted that so bad as a kid. I didn't think about that. You just unlocked a memory for me.
Jeez,
Yeah.
but another idea that just popped in my head is you know, like how we have the convergent species Pokemon, like the Toadscool and whatever.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for like the next one to be a Slowpoke in a big like cloister shell or like a shelter shell. Like it's just hiding in there, but like the shell
Yeah.
is like it's the body and like the Slowpoke's head's just like in the inside. Or however they choose to do it. I just want to see like a big shell and then all that's in there is a Slowpoke.
That would be great. I will absolutely be down to see that in a game. Honestly, I'd probably do a solo run of that only if it was a thing. Yeah.
Going back to the areas, is there any that have to be unlocked with just points? 'Cause I know tunnel you
no,
have to hit the electrode.
I don't know if it's through, maybe not through points, but I think the points are just for unlocking items like the Pester
Okay.
Ball and the flute and whatnot. I mean, I just played it last night, so I should know. But yeah, I don't think points unlock levels,
Okay.
but I could be wrong.
Yeah, no,
It's like-
you're right, you're right. Points
trying
will
to
help
remember
unlock
how you-
features, but they won't unlock levels.
So like
I-
when you do the tunnel and you blow up the thing, does that open both volcano and river? I can't remember. It's been forever.
Just volcano.
Yeah.
Just
And then-
volcano.
How do you unlock the river?
I think you just complete the volcano, or I think it may be tied to how many Pokemon you found, because I've gotten that
Okay.
message a few times where it's like you need to find 2 more.
Okay.
So that could be it.
That's kind of what I was like remembering. Like, is it based off of like your points and like you have to get like the best pictures in order to unlock the next area?
No, it's locked behind a paywall actually. You have to pay the
Yeah.
Meowth about $5.
You gotta buy the Rumble Pack.
Yeah, you gotta buy the
Meowth
Rumble
bucks.
Pack. You also have to have the transfer pack inserted first, with Pokemon Yellow on there to make sure that you could get a slow shot of the Pikachu that's running on the river, because it's the only way you could get a good shot of it.
Speaking of taking pictures, I think this is actually not like a contentious topic, and I think it actually fits pretty well because obviously cameras have film, and cameras aren't, or they're not infinite like in digital. You only get 60 photos to take, and I wonder if they picked that because of memory limitations, or they're like, who the hell's gonna take 60 photos?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. Like it sounds like both would be feasible,
Yeah.
especially more so on the like memory kind of issues. Like if you have like a million photos of like this, like the corner ear of Pikachu with a bunch of random stuff, it's like you're gonna have to sift through all of that just for a level. Like
Right?
I think it's also just to sort of pad on, like, I guess difficulty, because you can like spam the A button to get like all those photos of like Staryu circling around you, for example. But then
Yeah.
that's going to use up all your film, and then you will basically forfeit the rest of the level. So it's kind of like just forcing you to prioritize what you need to take photos of. So it could be a combination of everything.
that
And I
sounds
wonder
very
if
feasible.
forward feature, the R button, came up like after, like was that an afterthought? Did they think like, oh hey, it's, if you run out of film, like they're playtesting, like hey, nobody wants to sit here and just watch this.
Yeah.
We need to implement.
Probably
a way to
was,
run it
yeah.
through.
Because I think through playtesting, they would have eventually gotten bored of playtesting.
Yeah.
Like, I
Running-
just want to speed through it.
It's like
Especially
5
if
minutes
like
to
you
review.
had, you only had to go back for 2 Pokemon. So why would you want to sit through the whole level after you already got them?
Yeah, I do find it kind of strange that there is nothing exclusive to find like through speeding through a level. You know what I mean? Like, what if I just like rush through and then I maybe catch like a Mewtwo, but otherwise you like miss it. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing like
Yeah.
that, which I thought was kind of weird.
That would be
If
cool.
you're taking
Yeah.
advantage of that more, would be cool.
Yeah, like a Dodrio at the end of the beach level, just there.
Yeah.
if
That
you were
would
just
be
fast enough.
hilarious if you
Yeah.
if you like the Doduo follows you at the whole level, and if you beat it, it evolves into Dodrio.
Yeah,
That'd be
that
cool.
would yeah. Or
Because
even
there's
like
a lot of unnatural evolutions in this game. Like if you hit, I think Grimer with the Pester Ball, it evolves into Muck. Toss Charmeleon into Lava, it evolves into Charizard. Obviously.
That makes sense, I think.
or
but,
throwing the apples into the little bits of lava, and then an Arcanine just shows up. Like,
Yeah.
was it just sleeping in there, or
It's hungry.
was it just waiting, like spaghetti in the corner, just like we're gonna throw an apple?
Or
I
what
thought it
was
was the boss's kid.
Turns out it's a full-grown man. Got
I
his
think you
friends.
take,
Yes.
you take 3 pictures of Diglett, it evolves into Dugtrio, right? And Tunnel. I think
Yeah.
you can put
Yeah,
3 pictures
yeah.
in succession, and then
No,
it
no, no.
evolves.
You throw apples, and then I think. Wait, no, Bono, you might be right. I think you're right.
All right.
Joel, can
Something.
you confirm or deny these? Claims?
I didn't bother trying to get Doug Trio last night. So yeah, Bono's right, sure. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
Bono
Hey,
wins.
zoom in on my camera. Hey.
Yay! Let's go.
And that kind of stuff is like really cool with that game specifically. Like you have to like chain these events to like get some kind of reward out of that.
Mhm.
Right.
And every level has an example of it. But that kind of stuff was like super cool as a kid. Like I like lost my mind. Like holy fuck! Like I got a Gyarados. How the fuck did that happen? And like I don't know. I didn't get a Gyarados. So it's like like pre. I guess not technically pre-internet, but early
Yeah.
internet where like people didn't know any of this shit.
Yeah, it's
It
like
is,
the playground rumors and stuff.
It is pretty
Yeah.
crazy because like thinking about it from like a game developing perspective, you put all these things in there, but it's not like secrets. Like that's like stuff you need to like fully complete the game, and there's no like telling you how to do it. So it's like
Mhm.
I think that's the genius of it, that all the levels are so short because in that given time, and you run it back through like 5 or 6 times, you're like, hey, you're missing a Pokemon, hey, you're missing a Pokemon, hey, you're missing a Pokemon. That through trial and error, eventually you'll get, you'll hit that Mankey, will kick that Magikarp over the mountain, and then you'll see it on the left, be like, hey, there's that Magikarp again, let me hit it with another apple because I hate Magikarp. And then it hop skips and turns into a Gyarados.
Yeah, it's just
crazy.
it's evolved by pure anger. Yeah, it's not even by level at this point. It's just abuse, anger, and retaliation. But yeah, once you finish a level on there, you get to pick your the best shots of each Pokemon, and you send them over to Professor Oak so he can grade them. They're
Gave us
kind of
one
judged
the best,
on different.
best sound clips of all time.
You were close.
You were close.
Wonderful.
Wonderful. Welcome back. See you.
Iconic sound lines.
By was the voice actor's Stuart Zagnant, I think. Anyways, yeah. So basically, the points were judged off of like the character, if the Pokemon was in the center of the frame, how big it was, if it's doing something. And I always think of like rule of thirds and stuff was just, at least with modern like filming and photography. So whenever I try to play more recently, and I would try and do like rule of thirds, they'd be like, "Oh, your points suck," like, or "You were close." So I had to remember, okay, put it in the center of the shot, and then it'll be okay.
Because that's good photography, everybody.
Yeah.
Make sure your subject is exactly in the middle.
Yeah, it's with a million feet of headroom.
I don't know if you guys know this, but I took some programming classes. So it's always interesting me to like keep that in mind, is that when I see stuff like this, I'm wondering how like it's reading it in the memory. Like if it's reading the picture, does it say like if object whatever the Pokemon is? So like if object Pikachu is like 67% in frame, give this many points. Or like I'm interested to see like how
the code works.
they code works
Yeah.
on that game like that, because like in my head that's how I imagine it, but like I just want to see like the inner
See
workings
if there's a
of
way
it.
you could like data mine the ROM, I guess.
Yeah.
So I think how it works is the reticle that you see on screen, as soon as it lights up red and it shows the Pokemon name, that means it's like centered, I believe. But centered basically just means the model is touching the reticle at some point. It probably gives you bonus points for if it's more in the center or not, but if it touches that reticle, that'll count as being in frame.
Right. And as,
Otherwise, if it's not touching, it'll still recognize it, but it won't give you that bonus.
right, and as the logic is like going down the drain, like is it in the center? Is most of it in the picture? Where is the logic? Like if there's other Pokemon in the picture, award more points, or if Pikachu is doing Thunder, award bonus points.
Yeah, and I think the first game is kind of shit for that, because sometimes you'll take a photo of like a Bulbasaur, for example, and there's like 2 other Bulbasaur, but it won't register that there's multiples. Like it's kind of like 50-50, I find. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Pictures that I thought that it would like turn out great, and then he's just like, "You were close," and it hurts
You know
my
what?
soul. It just
Yeah,
like
now
shoots
that
us
you bring
right
that up, I
here.
do remember that. I remember that a lot. Of like, oh, I got fucking 2 Bulbasaurs in the picture, and it's like less points than the one where he's doing like absolutely nothing, and it's like a distance shot.
Yeah.
Well, even just on that note, last night the first photo you find, or I guess the first photo you could take of Pikachu, where he's just sitting on the beach. The very first photo, he's like, we just see his back, don't even see his face. And every photo of Pikachu that we tried to take last night, it didn't match up to that in terms of points. We're like, what the fuck? Like, this Pikachu's, I don't know, like in frame, like holding an apple. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not as good as the first one that we took. It's like, how does that happen?
It's funny
Yeah.
that you have it here, but do they ever call the thing you're in the 0-1, or does it you just get in it and start going?
I'm
and
pretty
take
sure he
pictures?
says it in the beginning.
Okay.
Pretty sure he calls it the
0-1.
0-1.
You were close.
0-1.
0-1. When I was telling you guys before we started filming, I knew it was called the Zero One. I read it on here, and then I was thinking, like, wait, that's the name of a North Lane song. Am I sure, or am I just losing my mind? And nope, turns out it was right in both aspects. There's the thing, the Zero One in this game, and then there's a song by North Lane called Zero One. So the amount of points that you get will help unlock features. The first thing that you get is at 14,000 points, you get the Pokemon food, which is basically apples.
Yeah, Pokemon food my ass. It's an apple.
Yeah, it's just an apple. It's an applin. It's an applin corpse. So you throw that at the Pokemon, and it'll follow it. It'll eat it, and it'll be happy. And then you get a photo of that. Also, you could use it to aggravate Pokemon. You just chuck them at Pokemon and just get them to be all pissed. Or knocking Meowth off of ledges. I remember in the beach stage, you get to hit Meowth with apples. And it's all.
You throw apples at everything. As soon as you get apples, you're just throwing apples.
Yeah,
Kids,
honestly.
go outside, toss apples at people.
Yeah, an apple a day.
Maybe they'll do funny poses.
Yeah, an apple. Yeah. You just bonk. So the next one you get at 75,000 points is the Pester Ball.
Can you look up what it is in Japanese? Because Pester Ball is like the North American PG-13 like word for it. It's got to be like Toxic Ball or something. It's got to be something different.
It's called the Reluctant Ball.
Reluctant Ball.
Yeah.
Huh. I thought it would have a more sinister name than that.
Nah.
That's a weird name.
Yeah, it's the I don't know, Walt. You seem a little sus to me, ball.
Sus ball.
Sus ball.
Yeah. Which is funny that the Pokeflute makes like Pokemon dance, right? So obviously it sounds like Pokemon like the sound of it. I mean, I guess it makes sense because Snorlax like hears it, gets up and gets pissed that that he's up. But it's kind of weird that there's like that dichotomy of like, hey, everybody else loves it. Snorlax is pissed because you're playing it in his damn ear.
Yeah, its name is not Awake-lax, it's Snorlax. I mean, it doesn't want to be awake.
But then also, you play it again, and you can make Snorlax stance, actually.
Yeah, you make him do the stanky leg. No, then also that's how you wake up Vileplume, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
I think you have to hit it with a Pester Ball.
No, maybe
Pokeflute, and then that's the only way you can get that Pokemon sign because it's
the Cubone
Steam or its stench is like blocking it.
So yeah, but the Pester Ball, going back to it, since we only kind of like glazed over the Reluctant Ball. Use it, it pisses Pokemon off, and it helps some Pokemon evolve, like Grimer. You just use it, just mess with things, and you get like an angry pose, essentially, as opposed to the Pokemon food that makes it happy. Did you guys spam the Pester Ball more than the Pokemon food?
I
Or was it kind of like a 50-50? Yeah.
You start off by getting the apples, so like you throw that a little bit more, and then once you get the Pester Ball, you're throwing it. But I feel like when you first get the first thing to throw, you're gonna throw a lot more of it.
And so yeah, Pokemon Flute, that's at 175,000 points. And then the last thing that you get is when you show Professor Oak the first Pokemon sign, then he gives you the dash engine, so that way you can just speed through the levels. So if you want to try and get that Dodrio, but
like
yes,
the easiest sign to get to the Ductrio, no?
The Kingler one is the first one. Sign.
The first one, but like the one that's most apparent would be the Ductrio.
Yeah, that'd probably be the most apparent because it's like right there, right in front of you. You don't have to like be at a certain angle; it's just there.
Right. Kingler, you have to turn around and look back. Pinsir one, you have to evolve. You have to get Zapdos to hatch, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Which requires the Pokeflute.
There is the Cubone, which, again, you have to awaken Vileplume with the Pokemon Flute, and then you can take a picture of it. There is the Coughing Cloud, which you have to throw Pester Balls into one of the volcanoes at the beginning of the volcano stage. And there was Mewtwo Constellation, which you just have to basically take a photo in that general direction. It just looks like a bunch of dots. But once you actually look at the renders of the photos, then it will show the constellation there.
Like how you see ghosts when you go to like haunted houses and you take pictures and like there's a ghost putting a hand on somebody's shoulder.
Exactly. So,
got it.
Spooky. The photos that you take in the games are saved on your record, and those can be printed at these kiosks at Blockbusters called sticker stations. So you basically, I think it's like $3-4. You put your cartridge in there. And essentially how it works is the printer is plugged into the fourth controller slot on a Nintendo 64. It's literally just a 64 with a printer in the fourth controller slot. You pick the Pokemon that you want to print out photos of, and then it gives you like a little like a sticker reel, like a photo roll. And so they had that for Snap and for Stadium.
In its lifetime, like how many were actually printed?
I wanted to, but
Yeah, I know,
yeah.
but like whose parents would like actually be willing to like go through all that hassle to take their kid to Blockbuster, have them pick out whatever movie, and then just fucking begging the whole time where they're like, can I do the fucking sticker
I'm
reel?
sure that that's part of like the plan of it too, of like the kids that are very insistent, like, oh, we have to go to Blockbuster. I gotta print out the pictures, and so they're just like, okay, fine, and so they're already like cartridge in hand goes over there and prints it.
I'm just thinking like conservative parents are like, why do you have your Pokemon Snap cartridge with no 64? Like, what are you gonna do with it?
Yeah, it's like this isn't a toy.
Because what, it's like $40-$50 for a game back then? Or, well, back then, still the same, but...
It's 24 years ago.
All those like little weird features of games like similar to this where requires like some kind of third-party device. Like, I don't know, like I'm trying to put myself in like maybe like my parents' shoes, for example, and like was it cool for other people or was it just cool for us? There's like all these things like Skylanders and Amiibos and stuff, which are granted like still kind of cool, right? But all these kids nowadays have all these different things that they can like expand on their games with, and I just kind of look at them and I'm like, oh, that's kind of dumb. So it's really weird. Or even like if you're like a 30-year-old person like working at Blockbuster at the time, like, oh, I gotta do maintenance on the Pokemon Snap printer, and I don't know what the fuck this thing is.
Right.
It's just like a very weird
thing to
think about.
Yeah, that is something to think about. It's like, how much traffic does it actually get? Like the maintenance that goes into it. I don't know. That is funny to think about. I didn't even consider that. But
how many intact machines exist? Like, I wonder if they got dismantled for the 64 or like.
I'm pretty sure a lot of them got taken back, but there are some people online that show off their sticker stations that they still have. So I mean, there's some that are still like around, but they're more like privately owned. So yeah, they probably use the old 64s from there to like resell them or refurbish them and sell them. I don't know. Yeah, since that feature isn't available on like the virtual console games, obviously. They had a feature instead, at least on the Wii. I don't remember about the Wii U. Probably the same because it would just probably go through virtual Wii mode. When you took your pictures, you could upload them onto the Wii message board, which was there like online, almost like a social media before a social media feature. I don't know anybody that ever used the Wii message board. I never really delved too much into the Wii that I had. I think as soon as I got a Wii in 2011, I just had my friend Don softmod it for me. So it definitely did not have long delay capabilities. I don't know. I just thought I'd put that in there. I highly doubt that anybody here played it on the Wii.
I did not.
No, I don't think so.
I was going to say, your last point talked about how this is the only game that shows like lore accurate Slowpoke evolution.
Yeah.
And then that got me thinking, like, well, that's weird because we have, like, random-ass crap, like, in Gen 3 with the Braille Cave, and then you have to have... I can't ever remember the order. Is it Relicanth in the front, Wailord in the back?
That's...
Or is it the other way around?
I want to say it's the other way around. I can't remember, though.
Either way, you have that, like, random crap, but we can't change Slowpoke's evolution if you have a Shelder in your party, your Slowpoke evolves into Slowbro.
Mm-hmm. Like a Calyrex kind of thing, where you just have that would make sense, but I mean, I think we're so far
to look at it because I was like, well, I don't think like if they try to do that, like you could potentially lock either of the two with version exclusives. Like if they were going to go through with that, they wouldn't do that, right? Mm-hmm. You'd think.
Listen.
But Shelder is exclusive to Fire Red and Slowpoke is exclusive to Leaf Green. So I think that would have made...
Those bastards.
That would have made it a little bit harder to get, but probably would have been like the number one thing traded during that. Like, hey, do you have a Shelder? Yeah, you got a Slowpoke? Okay, yeah, let's trade so you get a Slowbro. I don't know how they do Slowking, but you know, here we are.
Yeah, here we are in 2023, still wondering about Slowpoke. But yeah, what would you? Do you guys have anything else that you wanted to add about the original Pokemon Snap before we move forward?
Yeah, I thought it was just like a fun game that you could go over to a friend's house and you can throw in and play it for 30 minutes while you're just like hanging out with them. So it was just it wasn't as serious, so you could just like play it casually with your friends sometimes, and in that ways it was a fun game at the time that I really liked.
Or even just knocking it out in like an hour or like an hour and a half, and you could just go through the whole game. But
one demerit I would give it, because I grew at least when I grew up with it, it was like one of the things that everybody played with, is the fact that there's not multiple save files. It's
Yeah.
one file. So if like you and let's say
Yeah.
cousin A get most of the way through it and you guys leave it a little bit unattended and cousin B is like, oh, I want to play, and then, oh, what's this save file, delete.
Yeah, I think
Immediately deleted.
Pokemon's pretty notorious for doing only one save file per game. It seems
Right.
like that they don't seem to believe in multiple saves on there, like how in the Legend of Zelda games you would have like the 3 or any other game, literally any other game
Mhm.
that had multiple save files. But,
And
Right.
then I'd have
yeah.
like the opposite of that, where I'd come and like the whole game's beaten. I'm like, oh, cool. I was stuck on this. I don't even have to do it anymore. Let me just go take pictures of this stuff now.
Yeah,
Less of a demerit, more of an annoyance. But that's something I thought that should be pointed
Yeah.
out.
So I think my biggest gripe with this game is how quick it is. I mean, we mentioned a few times that you could go through it in like an hour and a half, which is very sad. Like, especially if you're buying this brand new, like when it came out, you're like, oh, sweet, it's a full-on Pokemon game, and
Right.
you pay like 50, 60 bucks at the time, and you only play it for an hour and a half. It's like, okay, am I going to go back to this? Probably not, unless you're so dedicated to the sticker station that you're going to pay more and more just to get some photoreels printed out, which I kind of doubt. That'd probably be my biggest drawback. Other than that, like, I did have a lot of fun with this, and if I were to give it a rating personally, I'd probably give it like a 7.5 out of 10. But,
Yeah, I'd agree with like pretty much everything that you guys mentioned. And I guess kind of on that note, like if you're buying the game when it came out, like there's no guides or anything. Playing it like over the course of like 2 hours is probably not going to happen. Like you may have like a whole week of like trial and error, like, oh, this isn't working.
Mhm.
But then on that note, like because it kind of like locks you into those levels, like, oh, you can't progress until you find out how to. And then I don't know, as like a little kid, you can probably imagine a lot of frustrated individuals, and then they get annoyed with the game. But then at like the same time, just how like simple the game is, I think it was a great like gateway game for like the Pokemon franchise because it's not turn-based battling or anything like that, right? So I think it kind of brought in a lot of new fans, but then left people, I don't know, kind of like thirsting for more, which so it sucks that we had to wait like over 20 years to get a sequel. The only thing that really, really bugs me about the game is really just the controls. It needs like an options screen of some kind. You want to
The
look up and
camera.
down. That's
Yeah, the C
that's
buttons.
inverted.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't change. I guess on the virtual or Switch console, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah, Switch
that's
Online.
all inverted with the stick. So a lot of improvements could be made, but I guess that's why there's a new one. So
Yeah. Right.
yeah, overall though, it's a great game.
And what would you give it a rating, Joel?
It's tough to say because it's one of those things that I just like am very nostalgic for, but I realize that it doesn't hold up in all the ways that it should. I guess probably close to your score. I'd maybe give it like a 6 out of 10. So still a positive score, but
But there's definitely room for improvement.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah, but
Oh yeah. Bono.
Jeff,
Jeff.
fire off,
Jeff.
King.
Of course. Pop off, King.
I guess I would say I'd probably give it like an 8, just because I haven't even played the new Snap yet, so I don't know all the it could be. I don't
Yeah.
know all the negatives of it yet,
Yeah.
So I just have the nostalgic goggles on still for it.
Yeah. It's something you
do
can
it,
play
do
with
it.
your boy.
Do a hard cut
Yeah.
right here, and we'll do like a disclaimer. Like Jeff immediately went out and bought new Pokemon Snap after the end of this filming.
Yeah. It's like, wow, that's a great card.
Wow.
That's a great game. Bono.
I'm gonna kind of follow suit, not with Joel or not with Jeff, and more with you two. I'm thinking more of like a 7 out of 10, because if you're looking at this as just what the game is, you have 7 different areas. It's a gimmick game where it's just taking pictures of your Pokemon. There's a little bit of challenge, especially like Joel said, if there's no guides, you're definitely gonna be playing this game a lot longer. But I can't imagine anybody playing this game in terms of not just like one sitting, but like in terms of like total play hours. I cannot imagine anybody taking more than like 12, 13 hours beating this game.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if you were locked in a room feasibly, there's like no way that you wouldn't beat this game within that amount of
so
time.
it's like It's like a
Definitely.
saw trap. Like,
Right. Yeah, beat
Yeah.
Pokemon Snap in its entirety or die.
Yeah.
So in that aspects, if you're paying full price, especially for games at the time, like what we have Ocarina of Time, GoldenEye, Conquer, and Donkey Kong,
Banjo-Kazooie and
Banjo,
yeah, there's
it,
so
it
many
doesn't
great
re-
games on the
it doesn't
64.
like there's a significant gap between what those games are and what Snap is.
Yeah. But also, this
So
isn't like a game that's going to be considered. I think we said in the pinball episode. This isn't going to be a game that's considered like game of the year or anything. But you are going to be enjoying it when you play it. Like when you pick it up, like you are going to have a good time. It's just not going to have that deep lore and storyline like a game like Banjo Kazooie or Tears of the Kingdom or whatever highly accredited game.
yeah,
You're here for a
and
good time, not a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
right, and but
Rock
there
on,
are
brother.
aspects of this game that like really reach out and touch you, like like we talked about all the Pokemon interacting with each other. It gives you that dopamine hit when you finally figure out how to advance to next, find the secret paths to the next levels and evolve specific Pokemon by doing certain things.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's like so many limited Pokemon, and if you don't have like prior knowledge, you're kind of just like left without a paddle. Like a first time comer, how are you supposed to know that Slowpoke evolves with Shelter, or that if you have to hit the primate, the Mankey off the mountain to turn it into a primate?
Mhm.
So with all that being said, I think I get I was thinking a 7, but I'm thinking more of a 6.
Okay.
It's above average. It's not worth full price.
Yeah, definitely like $20 at most.
Yeah, if this is like a $20 game, then yeah, it might be worth that. I'm thinking more 15, but it's a condensed experience. This is
Really,
definitely
the
like
$5 is a major factor.
yeah, it's definitely like a game that I would, if I had it, if I actually like owned it, I wouldn't mind like passing it around to my friends, like, hey, here's Snap, take it for the weekend, play it, and
Yeah.
do stuff like that.
Photo pass.
Yeah, or if we lived in communist Russia, I'd be like, Conrad, let's all pitch in $20 and we can buy Pokemon Snap.
Our game, comrade.
Our game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the biggest thing from this is just that it kind of broke the mold on what Pokemon games could be, especially being like the first 3D one. It's great that we got the new one 20 years later, but I feel like it's a revenue stream or something that they could have explored more in the interim.
It's interesting that you say that about Pokemon Snap, because I thought it was only that shooting stars could break the mold.
Got him.
So we're just gonna cut that out. You know what? Hang on, let me
Yeah.
just yeah, there we go.
New Pokemon Snap, 22 years later. They dropped it on the Nintendo Switch on April 30th of 2021. It was developed by Bandai Namco, who helped develop Pokken Tournament, as well as Super Smash Bros. For 3DS Wii U and Smash Bros. Ultimate, amongst a billion other franchises. So it's
very, very prolific developer.
seriously like one of the most like well-known developers in the gaming industry made this game.
If you ever played a JRPG, Bandai Namco was involved.
Probably. Yeah, the gameplay basically it follows the general guidelines of the original Snap of like on rails, taking photos of Pokemon. They have a lot of the same features like the Pokemon food and the dash and like the music. I mean, they kind of change it up a little bit on like the phrasing and stuff and how Pokemon react to it. Also, there was a free DLC update for this game that came out a few months after, and it almost like implied that they're going to be doing more, but as of this video they have not, and I highly doubt that they will, especially because it's based off of the previous generation of Pokemon and because it's been like 2 years.
Let's say, what did it sell well?
I don't recall. You know what, let me look that up. Actually, I'm pretty sure it did well enough.
I doubt it's never going to be the 10 million copies like Scarlet and Violet did the weekend. I understand that, but I where is that line of like, was it successful?
Let's see. So sales.
I bought it.
Yeah, me too. I bought it.
I haven't.
Let's see. So as of March 31st of 2022, Pokemon Snap or new Pokemon Snap sold 2.4 million copies outside of Japan. Yeah, so there's like one little DLC bit that was pretty cool, and it was very misleading because I was hoping that there would have been more. There are 214 Pokemon in the base game, and then with the DLC they add 20 more in there. This encompasses Pokemon from generations 1 through generation 8. So we saw, basically everything from Red and Blue to Sword and Shield. This game is based off of the Lentil region, which is something that's literally just made up for this, as they do with spin-offs. There are 6 islands in this game, but each one has their own, like, biomes that you go to. And also within those biomes, there are different times of day that you could go to them and play levels. So there's so many different levels in this game technically, and you're encountering different Pokemon in every single run through. So like if you're going to like one area with like the sands at the day, you're going to see Pokemon that are different than what you see at night, which I thought was really cool. It's like you just kind of get a different experience every time.
To chime back in real quick, I did the math. You could throw up like the little math, the hangover, like the formula going up. So if with those copies and those numbers you gave me, it would seem that new Pokemon Snap made $144 million off of that, as opposed to Scarlet and Violet, which sold to 10 million copies over the weekend. God knows how many now, which netted them about $600 million just over that weekend. So there's a disparity by quite a lot.
Yeah.
But $144 million, I can't imagine that they spent that much on it.
No, I don't think that they spent all that much on it, but also this obviously isn't the focus. And when the game came out, or when the game was even announced, we were like really in the thick of the pandemic too. So I'm pretty sure that marred a lot of the sales for it.
When you go back to it, I don't think anybody expected this. I don't think anybody was, or maybe the person with like a tinfoil hat on was like, Pokemon Snap's coming, but I don't think anybody else was like, Pokemon Snap.
But also their marketing for Scarlet and Violet were just so good, and then they gave us such a steaming pile of shit that, I mean, I'm sure the sales have dwindled on Scarlet and Violet since then, but yeah, like there was so much hype around Scarlet and Violet, all of us included, especially Bono and I making a million fucking videos about it.
Did you make that short I told you to about you and Don Fan?
No. I remember now. No, I didn't do it.
Joel, he called it. He called fucking Paradox Don Fan in our very first fucking video. I said, hey, what kind of like alternative Pokemon do you want to see in the next game? And I was like, I want to see like alternate Dragonite. And this asshole's like, I know what I want to see. I want to see Donphan as a new Pokemon type. And I was like, okay, what type combination would you see? He's like, Ground Steel. And then fast forward till the fucking game comes out, fucking Iron Treads.
Wait, you predicted that?
Apparently.
Yeah, I was watching the other episode the other day, and I was like, wait, what?
I mean,
it was like a double take, because I was like, la da 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 da. Wait, what the fuck did he say?
Yeah. You saw it here first, guys.
Yeah, you saw it here first, guys. Like, I just got it. 10 things you didn't know about Scarlet and Violet.
You should predict the next gimmick.
Yeah, Alex. Oh, Alex
next
of the
gimmick.
League. Tell me the next gimmick.
They're going to release a functional game.
Whoa.
Wow.
Yeah, that's whoa. Basically, the plot is not really anything. So, basically, there's a professor, literally named Professor Mirror. Professor Mirror, and then another character named Rita ask the player to conduct survey of the Illumina phenomenon. Basically, some Pokemon will just like light up in iridescent colors and almost like a bootleg terastallizing. Yeah, the Pester Balls are replaced with these things called Illumina Orbs, which provide a luminescence around the Pokemon's outline. And instead of making them upset, it just kind of makes them happy or dance or whatever positive. Not all Pokemon react to the aluminum orbs, but some of them do. And you get different reactions out of them, different shots. Also with...
Makes them high, I think.
Yeah. It's just like... It's like giving the cat catnip. Like, it just makes them completely just off the rocker. Also, what's cool about this, when it comes to, like, the rating system, I mean, they definitely detail more of, like, where... Like, why the pictures do so well, like, with the pose and the size and all that kind of stuff. But also, there's different tiers for each photo. There's, like, 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, and 4-star. Those don't grade it based off of, like, how good the photo is. It's just, like, the kind of pose that it's in or, like, what situation it's in. So if a Pokemon's just, like, standing regularly, then that'd be, like a 1-star pose. If it's, like a Charizard that's breathing fire on something, then that'd be more like a 4-star pose. Things like that. Like, it's, like, different situations. So if you're, like, trying to completely complete the photo decks, as they call it, you'd have to get photos of every single... star for every single Pokemon of all those 233 so-odd Pokemon.
Yeah, and some of those are really hard to get to. I remember there's a few Pokemon you can only find in like maybe one level, and you have to get, if you want to complete it anyway, you have to get 1, 2, 3, and 4-star. And you're like, how the fuck do I get a 4-star of this? And it's like a lot of like the first game, just like trial and error and trying to figure things out.
Yeah, and also even then, those are even graded too based off the quality of the photo. So you get like bronze, gold, or platinum stars. So if you're trying to be like a total completionist, you'll have to do all 4 of those, plus getting platinum stars on every single one too, which is just absolutely absurd. So it's like you have to do runs specifically just for that one Pokemon. And the way that you find some of these Pokemon too are insanely convoluted. Like I definitely had to look up guides a few times to find some of these Pokemon because it's like they really don't make it easy on this one, which is great. It allows you to think, but sometimes like I'm not that bright. Most times I'm not that bright. I'm a little bit of an idiot.
It's funny.
Yeah,
We skipped over the people or like the professor and whatnot, and I'm looking at the page on Therapy. They don't even have a separate tab for the characters. Like
Yeah, because they're
it's
unimportant
not
as
even
shit.
a point of the game.
They're literally like non-characters. Like they're just plot devices, or not even plot devices. They help carry the plot along, and even then, the plot is just so lackluster. But I mean, what would you expect out of a freaking Pokemon Snap game?
I did find them really annoying because they're. I guess you can turn it off. I think there's a setting, but as you're playing through some of the levels, they'll like talk to you while you're playing.
Yeah, I
You're
turned
like,
that off.
wow. Yeah, immediately I'm like, no, I don't want this to happen.
Yeah, it's like Navi in Oracle or Ocarina of Time. It's like just stop it.
No,
Stop.
Oracle Seasons. Yeah, she's in that.
With these areas as well, once you progress to a certain point, then you'll have almost in a way it's like a boss battle, but it doesn't like the stakes don't seem to be raised all that high. So these Pokemon are full on just Illumina Pokemon. They're constantly like, illuminated. They're like, I don't know what you call them. They're basically boss Pokemon essentially. But there's 6 of them. There's Meganium, Milotic, Wishiwashi, Volcarona, Steelix, and the final boss, which is Xerneas. And so you kind of have like different ways of interacting with them and trying to get them to do certain things and to get like a better shot. And those ones will always rank up high points too. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. They're also like just straight up legendary Pokemon in this game too. So what I think it's like once you beat the game, you could go hunting for legendaries. And the way that you get them are so just like the definition of convoluted. I didn't have them written down, so I'll have to look for it real quick. But I remember the Ho-Oh one was just absolutely just absurd. So
that one immediately came to mind.
Okay. So going back to it's called the Lentil region, right? And I was thinking to myself, why would they name the region after a bean instead of having anything to do with a camera?
Yeah.
So I looked up the word lentil. Barely, it looks like it's only on Wiktionary, which I think is the same thing as Wikipedia. Like anybody could make this up, so don't quote me on it. But it says adjective of or pertaining to a lens, and I was just like thinking to myself, like, why did they just call this the aperture region or something else related to a camera instead of going like something off the base with lentil?
The pixel region.
Yeah, like who knows that word?
Yeah, exactly. Apparently the devs knew. I don't know.
And then right under it says misspelling of lentil, like the bean.
Yeah.
Instead of an A, it's an I.
Some of the legendary / mythical Pokemon they had in this game, they had Mew, Suicune, Lugia, Ho-Oh, Celebi, Jirachi, Manaphy, Shaman, Xerneas, Diancie, and Zeraora. Which, actually, I didn't realize that Zeraora was in this game. I straight up don't remember Zeraora being in this game. I think I might have to do that after this. But
Don't either.
yeah.
I know what you're doing.
Secret DLC.
Still, yeah. So still out of all of this, though, my highest point photo, my best taken photo was one of Mew. It was like a total just like close up of Mew right up on my camera. That one yielded me so many points. And it seemed like the legendaries gave you more points than the regular ones too.
I see you have it written here. It says there are so there's 214 in the base game, and then the DLC added 20 more.
Yeah.
How much of those 20 were legendary Pokemon, and how many were just like random Pokemon?
Probably Zeraora was one of those.
Okay.
I'm guessing. I don't remember though. I straight up don't remember getting Zeraora.
Because I was wondering if like the 20 they added were like some of the legendary new legendary bosses, or like they just added them to certain areas, or were they just 20 just like, oh hey, we forgot this, here you go.
No, it's just 20 random ones. I remember that for sure. It's just 20 random ones.
Because they had an entire new levels, right? So there were a bunch of like new ones just running around.
Yeah, it's like one or two new levels.
Ones.
It was like different perspectives of levels almost. Like one of them was like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of thing, where it's like you're in a micro cart and you just take pictures of the Pokemon that are usually small, but they're very, very big, like Wurmple.
This was 2021, right? That's when it came out.
2021.
Yeah, Yeah, so Zeraora would have already been out. This would have been like the perfect game to like put like you know like how in the past we've had like I think it's like a Riolu statue in Mystery Dungeon, and
Uh-huh.
people who beat Mystery Dungeon are like, what the fuck's Riolu?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, or Bonsai in XD.
or Bonsly in XD. So I feel like this would have been like the perfect platform to put like a Paradox Pokemon in, or maybe Miraidon or Koraidon. People be like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
This is
That'd
what
be
the fuck is
cool.
this?
Right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Something to think about, devs, for your hopefully the next Pokemon Snap game in
We
what,
won't get it for 22 years.
2046 maybe.
Yeah, in 2045 or so. Yeah.
New Pokemon Snap.
New
That-
Pokemon.
That new Pokemon Snap Squared. A new feature that they added in your playthrough of it is a scan feature. So at some point you'll get like a little like an icon at the bottom of your screen, and when you press the X button, I believe, it will kind of highlight certain areas in the environment. It'll give you some context on some areas, but also it allows you to go an alternate route. So if you want to go like left instead of right or whatever it was. Yeah, that was kind of a cool feature. Some Pokemon react differently to this as well. Of like if you try and go this way and they're like, oh shit, you're doing that. And then
Also, I think can you choose to go during the day and night? Is that a function of
yeah,
the beginning, or
yeah.
you have to
So
unlock that?
they're their own levels though. Like you have
Okay.
to like go to like the hills at the day or the hills at night.
It's
I feel
not
like the night
your
aspect was
clock
like
or
really
anything,
cool.
right? We're not talking like black and white style.
No.
sync
No, it's not like day night
Yeah, no.
cycle like in gold silver or anything. It's just like literally they're just their own levels, and it's not based in real time like Animal Crossing.
I do think the aspect of like the night going was like really cool because you have like a
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon that are active during the day, which are like just passed out in the
Mhm.
field, and then like even some of them just be replaced by Pokemon that go out in the night, like Murkrow or Sneasel or something like that.
You could also edit your photos in the game with like filters and stickers and like zoom functions and stuff like that. You post them online and they get ranked based off like likes and stuff or their version
I
of
think
likes.
I think they're called Yaz.
Yeah, like Miiverse.
Yeah.
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 Oh yeah.
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 Since they had the sticker station in the N64 Snap, and they obviously don't have that now because Blockbuster's dead and gone, rest in peace. They
They did a
kind-
collab with Redbox where you bring
Yeah.
your Switch and you dock it at the Redbox and it'll print out pictures.
Exactly. No, they tied in with the Instax Mini Link printer, which is like a Bluetooth-based printer. Usually, what you do is you're supposed to you send your photos from your camera over to this little mini printer, and it'll print out like a Polaroid-esque photo. And they did a collab with Nintendo to add a feature on the Switch where you could send your photos over to the Instax printer to print out photos straight from your Switch. So to almost simulate that. And they did a special colorway for it, which I ended up getting to kind of match the Switch colors, or at least the Joy-Con colors. So they have the blue right there, and then the red right over there. And I did use it quite a bit. I mean, I feel like I should have used it more, but I didn't. It was kind of cool, although I remember at the time I still thought it was stupid that it charged by micro USB instead of USB-C. But yeah, basically just put in a clip of Instax photos in here, and then you should send your photos over from the Switch, print them out directly. So I have like a little album of my favorite pictures that I've taken from the game, and I think
That's cool.
some of
So
the
how long do you think it took you to beat the game?
it definitely took a while for sure. It definitely was like a couple sittings worth. Yeah, it was definitely a very long game, and there are some places where you couldn't even get to because, or at least for a while, because yeah, you get the points again for Pokemon getting graded and stuff, but also each level had their own leveling system. So there's like, oh, the hills at night, level 1, level 2, and then level 3 at most. And so there's some Pokemon that would show up in level 2 or level 3. So if you're trying to complete the dex, you have to like fulfill all these requirements and play the levels over and over and over and over again, which was great for replayability, but it was monotonous after a while if you're just trying to get like one certain Pokemon.
That was one thing I wanted to bring up. Yeah, it does require you to replay a lot of levels, and some people enjoy that sort of thing. But if you're like pro gamers like us, you already know like what to look out for. So you're already like going left and right and doing everything.
Yeah.
So you're just doing that over and over and over. Where I think the intention was, oh, there's going to be some people who only focus on the left during this part. Now they have a chance to replay it and focus on this end or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It does kind of get monotonous. There's a lot of grinding in this game compared to the first one. One thing I wanted to bring up earlier before we finished with the first Snap, if I could compare this to like Portal, I'd say it's a fair like comparison of like how the sequel evolved. Because like Portal versus Portal 2, I don't know if anyone's played either, but
I
Portal
have a
2 is
bit.
I played both.
it's way more expansive. Like you can beat the first Portal game in like maybe an hour, but it's still a great game, right? And then Portal 2 is like abundantly like more content, more playability and whatnot.
I don't really have much else to add on New Pokemon Snap, I don't think. I mean, I
Only
enjoyed the hell out of this, like way more than the original Snap. I would definitely be going back to New Snap more often. But it was just, I think I burned myself out of it so quick because I was so excited to play it that today was actually the first time since the game, like the DLC came out, that I even played it or picked it up. But had I
Yeah,
not burned myself out,
I'm kind of the same way. Like I actually haven't played it since the free DLC came out. But I'm really itching to play it now since like I played the old Snap last night and now we're talking about it. So I don't know. I might play it over the weekend because I think it is a game that's worth like revisiting. I think it's worth the price too, in my honest opinion, especially with the DLC now.
I agree. I agree. It's very much worth it.
I was holding it in, but so before we head to get any deeper, I wanted to talk about something that wasn't on the list was the graphics in this game.
Great.
Yeah.
Game looks amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the best looking Pokemon games ever.
So
It looks a little bit better than the first one.
so you tell me that we can make
Debatable.
a game look like this, and we can make a game as expansive as Breath of the Wild, but we still can't mix the two on the Switch.
Yeah.
Wow.
The best looking like main series Pokemon game, I will stand by this. The best looking main series game was always Let's Go. Let's Go is it runs well, it looks amazing, and if they kept that art style for like other games, or even just the way that it played, just like a classic Pokemon game, but in just a good looking like 3D 1080p environment, then I think we would have like an instant classic on our hands. But unfortunately, we're just shoveled the whatever garbage they decided with Scarlet and Violet, super uninspired. Even like in Sword and Shield, a lot of the assets that they use were just very uninspired and lazy.
I put I put Brilliant Diamond in my Switch the other day, just to, like check some things. And obviously, it's whatever you land on with like the chibi style. But like
I don't
when you
mind
do
it.
the battle transition, it looks so good, and I'm like, where did they go wrong?
Yeah, I never had an issue with the BDSP art style. I mean, yeah, it's not the greatest, but I don't dislike it or had that abhorrent reaction like everybody else did. It was fine. It was serviceable. I mean, yeah, granted, you could see in like even like the latest trailer they had for the Mario RPG remake that they could do a chibi style in modern 3D graphics so much better. But it wasn't offensive. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
like this big.
But
like,
what I'm getting at is like when they do the battle transition, like the background and the Pokemon and the trainer model looks so good. Like, it almost
Yeah.
looks like Snap, not exactly like Snap, but it's like on just like a little bit below that quality. And I'm just like taken aback that we can have games like that. And you know, like I said, Breath as expansive as Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild, that run, admittedly. You know, you can glitch some stuff. It gets pretty bad when you do that, but like we can't meet in the middle for like a good Pokemon.
Yeah.
I just don't know what's going
I
on.
just don't think it's gonna happen, honestly. Like with the way that like we buy into Pokemon so often and how much we spend on Pokemon stuff, I just don't think that they care enough to optimize it any better. Or even this was a game that they wanted to shell out like just for the holidays. I mean, there's been a lot more rumors circulating around about the Switch 2 coming out next fiscal year. So what if like instead of if we got it like in November that they delayed it until the new Switch variant came out or the new like Switch sequel came out and maybe it actually run better. Or maybe it's just Game Freak and they're just gonna botch it all together again. Who knows?
But
They're gonna watch it.
Yeah, they're gonna yeah, I botched it. Life, you know?
Yeah, I feel like this game on graphics alone is it does. I don't know if you go out and I could like more like say like it warrants the price, but I feel like you're not getting what you paid for when you buy this game with just the way it looks.
Yeah.
Gameplay, it's you know it's not your cup of tea, it's not. But I feel like this game is like 100% worth the price.
I would definitely give this game, like, if I were to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like a 9 out of 10. It's just the one point I would hold back from it. Well, I always wish that there's more Pokemon in the game, but I think just the monotony of it all is just a little bit frustrating. Also, the barrier to get to the next level of all the points they have to get is too damn high. Like if they lowered that requirement by even like half, I think that I would probably have more of a fun time instead of just like, I feel like there's just a lot of grinding. Just taking same pictures of Pokemon just to get a marginally better score, just to inch my way over to level 3.
At the same time, like I do appreciate that sort of thing because it almost treats like the core audience way better than the mainline games do. Because like the mainline games are getting easier and easier,
Yeah.
but then Snap, it's like you're kind of making you work for it a little bit. But then understanding that kind of alienates some of the younger kids that are playing this new one.
That's true.
But it's kind of like a give and take thing. Like I appreciate for being difficult, but I agree that it is kind of like a little too grindy to like get to that point to unlock things and 100% it.
Yeah. I think I agree with that. Yeah, that's very fair.
This game, when it came out, it kind of encouraged me to go out and buy a capture card. And like this game is sort of like what made me start pursuing streaming entirely. I didn't start right away though because I had issues with the capture card, and I said, fuck it, I'll figure it out some other day.
Yeah.
So it took a while for me to actually start doing it, but this game is what kind of like led me into that.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, because it was I was like,
Twitch.tv/Jolioli.
Yeah.
yeah, actually, Mr. Jolie. Anyways,
Mr.
Yeah.
Jolioli. Yeah,
Mr.
flash it on the
Jolioli,
screen.
yeah.
Blast it on the screen.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean to like plug myself, but
No, plug your shit, King.
Plug.
Oh no, it's all good. But yeah, it was. I was like super excited to play this because Snap was like a favorite of mine. Like I didn't have an N64 or really anything as a kid. I'd always like played at a friend's place or at like my babysitter's or whatever. So that's the only exposure I had to this game, and it still like left such an impression. And playing the sequels, like it had me like super stoked to actually like dive into it. Anyways, just to like wrap up my little rant and kind of give it a score too, I'd say I'd also give it a 9 out of 10 with a little asterisk saying something to the effect of like a 9 out of 10 for Pokemon Snap game.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's not the most interesting gameplay if you compare it to like Breath of the Wild, for example. So there's like a bit of a caveat there, but I think for what it is and what it's trying to do, it kind of like hit a home run with some complaints of like the monotonous gameplay, and then I guess lack of a story and having annoying characters is always a turnoff for me. So just minor things in the end.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, it's a great game.
Yeah, absolutely. Bono, Jeff, your thoughts?
Well, kind of like what he was saying with the original Snap, it's like he would go over to his friend's house and play it, like, and just sounding like with the new Snap, you can't really have that same experience. Like, you kind of have to really like play it to get through it.
Right.
I just thought that was interesting on the differences between those two. But yeah, I loved old Snap. I should go buy the new Snap now.
Yeah, it's definitely a good time. I think you would have a good time with that, especially with your boys. Bono, your thoughts? Rating? Anything?
Well, I haven't actually played it, but I did watch you play it, and I have watched like a ton of footage of it, like when this game came out, because it was like I wasn't super excited to play it. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Snap, but at the same time, I think like that, like you said, it came out like right during COVID, and I think that was when I like started shiny hunting like in earnest, and that like had me like. It still does.
Still does. Yeah, used to too.
Has me like in its grip, and so that's was like my turn off from like playing it, because it's like, okay, well, you know, I have to sit down, I have to play it. It's not a game that I can have like in the background. Like, I have to pay attention to it.
Right.
And you know that if I'm doing that, I'm not shiny hunting, and you know, why live?
Sure.
So with that being said, but knowing what I know about the game and knowing how it works and what it's like Joel said, like it almost feels like you have to rate this game in two separate categories. Like if you're a Pokemon Snap fan, this game's like 8 or a 9. If you're just buying this game and you're looking for like an actual rating as to like how you would rank this game, I would probably say a 7. I feel like it's a good, it's above average in game. It looks insane for the Switch, which is always a thing. And I feel like depending on if this is your first time playing a game, it's difficult, but it's not like to the point, especially with, you know, how easy it is to be like, how do I do this on a phone today? You're not going to like struggle with this game unless you're like hard line, like, I don't want to look at my phone, I don't want to look up anything. Then, you know, but I feel like if you're doing that, you're the kind of person that likes that instead of like, you know, not being able to look up. So I can see it from both camps. But otherwise, yeah, I'd say if you're not like a Pokemon fan or a Snap fan, this game's like a 7 out of 10. But if you are, it's definitely an 8. I think the rapidity of having to go back through levels plus getting the star pictures for every single Pokemon to complete this game really kind of like doesn't make it better. It kind of just like kind of stagnates. Maybe this game would have done better if it had like a couple more areas, or maybe, you know, if it got more DLC, then people would like be really interested in this. If, like, this game would like soar, especially if they added like another mechanic on top of that, like something else out of the luminous orbs to that effect. It might,
A gun.
this game, yeah. A trank dart or something that like this game would be like an easily like 9 out of 10 and like a must buy for the Switch. But
I would
with
have
that
even
being
paid
said,
for DLC, honestly.
yeah. Like I think that's like a part of the market that they could get, especially if they're like, hey, there's Snap DLC. There's 7 new areas, and we added like 100. It doesn't have to be a lot. It could be like, you know, they could mix together some of this stuff. Like I said, what we talked about earlier, Snap really like tugs on my heartstrings because it like really like shows how the Pokemon interact and stuff like that. And I think this game did it wonderfully because there's like so many Pokemon and they're all doing their own thing, and it's just like really interesting to see the interactions with them. And I don't.
It's really like it's like National Geographic almost.
Right.
You're just kind of there, just watching shit happen.
Yeah. Pay David Attenborough to narrate this game. Dude, don't give us the annoying characters. Just pay David
That'll be the
Attenborough.
next. That'll be the next DLC. Is you get his voiceover.
Yeah, I mean, if they are trying to like recreate his voice for like AI when he passes, then maybe they'll use that for something like this.
Yeah, when you do the underwater levels, get like a James Cameron narration as you're like going under the water and stuff like that. Like I said, average gamer, 7 out of 10. Snap fan, 8 out of 10.
Yeah. So, with all that being said, unless if anybody else has anything else to add, I think that we have exhausted our conversation on this. So, thanks everybody for watching. Again, don't forget to share this with your friends, to like the video, to comment, tell us what you think, subscribe. Also, don't forget to check out Mr. Jolioli on Twitch. He's amazing, super talented, amazing. Jeff, I don't know if you have anything to plug, but
No.
you plugged in your friendship to this conversation.
Go to google.com.
Yeah. So, yeah, Joel, thanks. Joel, thanks again for joining us on here. We always love having you over here. Jeff, thanks.
For having me.
Of course. Jeff, thanks for joining us for the first time. Hopefully we'll have you on a later episode as well.
I want to say thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this episode.
Thanks to Popcorners.
Popcorners.
Honey, thanks to what is it, HelloFresh and all
HelloFresh, Blue Apron.
Yeah, sponsored Name Drop Corner 2023. Shout out to Milos.
Yeah.
But anyways, we'll see you all in the next video. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Peace.
Diversify y'all bonds.
Yeah, y'all bonds.